If this is one of those days, I'm really glad you're here. This is Kallaborate, where joy becomes your foundation. Not the loud kind of joy, but the kind you build, piece by piece, after life changes everything. I'm Francene, and I'm walking this with you. Last time, we talked about the roles life hands us before we were old enough to choose. The caretaker, the responsible one, the strong one, the one who keeps going. And maybe, somewhere in that conversation, you recognized one of your own roles too. Today, we're going one step further, because there comes a moment when you begin to realize the role that helped you survive may not be the role you want to live inside forever. And that realization can be powerful, but it can also be painful. Because choosing yourself isn't always the clean, brave, beautiful moment people imagine. Sometimes choosing yourself costs you belonging. Sometimes it costs you approval. Sometimes it costs you relationships you thought would always be there. Sometimes it costs you the version of yourself other people were more comfortable with. And even when the choice is right, that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. So today's question is this: what happens when protecting your peace costs you belonging? I don't think choosing myself happened in one big moment. It happened in layers. And honestly, most of those layers came with questions, confusion, second guessing, guilt. It wasn't like I suddenly stood up one day, fully confident, and said, "This is who I am now." It was messier than that. Sometimes choosing myself looked like leaving. Sometimes it looked like going back. Sometimes it looked like escaping something before I even understood what I was escaping. Sometimes it looked like doing the only thing I could think of, because staying where I was felt impossible. And maybe that's important to say. Choosing yourself doesn't always feel clear why you're doing it. Sometimes clarity comes later. I don't think I understood boundaries when I was younger. I don't even think I had language for them. I knew how to keep going. I knew how to take care of people. I knew how to read the room. I knew how to avoid making things worse. But I didn't know how to say, "This isn't okay." I didn't know how to say, "I need something different." I didn't know how to say, "I matter here too." And when you grow up learning that peace means keeping everyone else comfortable, choosing yourself can feel almost wrong. Not because it is wrong, because it feels unfamiliar. When I was 17, I left home for a little while. I lived with a friend and her family. It wasn't one big dramatic moment. It was pressure that had been building for a long time. The abuse, the belittling, being made to feel less than, feeling like no matter what I did, it would never be enough. I didn't have the words then for trauma or boundaries or emotional safety. I just knew I couldn't keep feeling that small. But leaving was complicated because my siblings were still there. And the guilt of that was heavy. So after 6 weeks, I went back. And for a long time, I probably would have looked at that as failure. But now, I don't think it was. I think that 17-year-old girl was trying to choose herself with the only tools she had. She left. She got scared. She felt guilty. She went back. But something in her had already started to notice that the way she was living was not okay. A few months after turning 18, I got married. At the time, I didn't understand that I was trying to escape my mother. I thought I was choosing love. I thought I was choosing a future. I thought I was choosing someone who wanted me. But looking back, I can see it differently now. My heart was starved for safety, for affection, for someone to make me feel wanted. And when you are desperate to get out of one kind of pain, it can be hard to recognize another kind of danger. That is not blame. That is compassion. Because 18-year-old me wasn't foolish. She was love-starved. She was exhausted. She was trying to find a door. She just didn't know that not every door leads to freedom. Years later, I had to choose myself again. This time, inside my marriage. And that choice came with a different kind of fear. Because leaving an unsafe relationship is not as simple as people think. From the outside, people may wonder, why didn't you just leave? From the inside, there is no just. There is fear. There are children. There is money. There is housing. There is shame. There is confusion. There is the voice in your head that has been trained to ask, what if this is my fault? And sometimes there's danger. When I finally reached the place where I knew I had to leave, it wasn't because I felt brave. It was because I didn't want to die. And I knew if I was no longer living, the abuse I had carried could turn towards my kids. That thought changed something in me. So no, it isn't just leaving. Sometimes choosing yourself is building enough belief in yourself to take one step toward the door, and then another, and then another. For me, one of the moments that shifted everything came after words that were meant to destroy me. I was told that if anyone ever really got to know me, they would think I was insane. Those words landed somewhere deep. Not because I believed them completely, but because part of me was scared they might be true. And because I had children, I had to know. If something was wrong with me, I needed to know. If my children weren't safe with me, I needed to know. So I went looking for answers. And strangely enough, that search led me to people who helped me see myself more clearly. Some of them were the people who started calling me Treasure. People who listened. People who didn't judge me. People who wanted to know what I thought. People who helped me remember that I had thoughts, opinions, a voice. And slowly, conversation by conversation, I began to believe something different about myself. Maybe I wasn't the problem. Maybe I've been surviving inside one. As I started finding my voice, I also started doing things that felt like mine. Not huge to everyone else, maybe, but huge to me. I taught myself how to ride a motorcycle. And that mattered, because I had been told the only way I would ever be on a motorcycle was behind him. So learning to ride one myself wasn't just about a motorcycle. It was about my own hands on the handlebar, my own balance, my own direction, my own road. Around that same time, I flew on a plane to Arizona for the first time ever. And 2 weeks later, I went skydiving. Which sounds a little wild now, and maybe it was. But I think there was a part of me that needed to feel the air again. A part of me that needed proof that I was still alive. Not just surviving, alive. But even when you begin to see the truth, leaving still costs something. It cost safety before safety arrived. It cost stability. It cost money. It cost the illusion that if I just tried harder, things might get better. It cost the version of me who believed keeping the peace was the same as being safe. And it cost other people's comfort. Because not everyone knows what to do when the person they expected to stay small starts standing up. But here's what I know now. There are moments when choosing yourself does not feel empowering. It feels terrifying. It feels lonely. It feels like everything is falling apart. And sometimes it is. But sometimes things have to fall apart before something safer can be built. There's another kind of choosing yourself that doesn't always get talked about. The kind where you have to set boundaries with family. The kind where you stop participating in patterns that have hurt you for years. The kind where you finally say, I can love people and still not allow them access to me. That one can be especially hard because family is supposed to mean belonging. Family is supposed to mean safety. Family is supposed to mean these are my people. But sometimes protecting your peace means accepting that not every person connected to you is safe for you. And that truth can ache, even when it's necessary. Stepping away from my mother was one of the most freeing choices I ever made, but was also one of the hardest, because I wasn't only stepping away from her. In many ways, I had to step away from everyone connected to her too. Siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins. For years, many of them blamed me. They saw me as selfish. They saw the boundary, but they didn't see what led to it. They didn't see the years of hurt, the years of trying, the years of hoping, the years of wishing. Somehow, she would become the mother I needed. And that may have been one of the biggest costs. Not just losing family connection, but losing the fantasy that someday she would be able to love me the way I deserved to be loved. I had to accept something very painful. She does not have the capacity to be the mother I deserved. And accepting that hurt. But it also set me free. Choosing yourself can change where you belong. Sometimes it changes who calls, who understands, who pulls away, who gets uncomfortable. Sometimes people liked you better when you didn't have needs, when you didn't say no, when you didn't question the role you had always played. And when that changes, relationships can shift. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means the relationship may have been built around a version of you that was no longer whole enough to stay. And that is a grief too. This is the part I want to say carefully. Choosing yourself does not mean you stop loving people. It does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you forgot where you came from. Sometimes choosing yourself means you finally include yourself in the love you have been giving everyone else. And that can feel unfamiliar. It can feel selfish at first, especially if you were taught that your value came from what you carried, what you tolerated, what you fixed, or what you made easier for others. But your peace matters too. Your safety matters too. Your voice matters too. You matter inside your own life too. Choosing myself costs me, but it also gave me things I didn't know were possible. It gave me safety. It gave me my voice. It gave me self-esteem. It gave me room to become someone outside of survival. And eventually, It helped make space for a different kind of love. The kind of love I have now. A love rooted in friendship, respect, safety, and being able to be myself without earning it through suffering. I don't think I could have received that kind of love while still abandoning myself. But sometimes choosing yourself doesn't just remove what hurts you. Sometimes it makes room for what can finally hold you safely. Maybe there is a place in your life where choosing yourself has felt expensive. Maybe you said no and someone pulled away. Maybe you set a boundary and someone made you feel guilty for needing it. Maybe you left something and still wondered if you should have stayed. Maybe you protected your peace and it cost you a version of belonging. If that is you, I want you to know you are not wrong for feeling the ache. The ache doesn't always mean the boundary is wrong. Sometimes it means you're grieving the belonging you wished was there. Even necessary choices can grieve us. Even healthy boundaries can hurt us. Even freedom can feel unfamiliar when survival is what you know. So be gentle with the part of you that is learning how to choose differently. And this is where joy begins to return in a different way. Not as celebration, not at first. Sometimes joy begins as quiet relief. A breath you didn't know you were holding. A morning that feels a little less heavy. A moment where you realize you do not have to explain yourself to everyone. A small space inside your own life where you finally feel like you can hear yourself again. That matters. Because joy is not something you lost. It's something you rebuilt. And sometimes rebuilding joy starts with protecting the space where your own voice can finally be heard. So today, I want to leave you with a question. Where in your life are you paying the cost of not choosing yourself? And where might you be ready to choose even one small piece of peace? Not the whole thing, not all at once. Just one small piece. A pause before saying yes. A no without a paragraph of explanation. A moment where you ask yourself, what do I actually need? No pressure, no fixing, no forcing. Just notice. Because trusting yourself sometimes begins with allowing your own voice to matter. If this is one of those days, I'm really glad you were here. Next time, we'll keep walking into this question of trusting ourselves. We'll talk about what begins to happen when you stop abandoning yourself and start listening for your own voice again. Because choosing yourself may cost you something, but abandoning yourself costs you too. And maybe now you're allowed to choose a little more of your own peace. We'll keep exploring all of it together. We'll keep walking together, one conversation at a time. I see you. If you're rebuilding one piece at a time, follow Kallaborate wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of the conversations ahead.